Let us try a thought experiment. Imagine a world without the small, glowing rectangles we carry in our pockets. A world where mobile phones were never invented. What would this world look like? How would humans, these social animals, manage their complex lives? We are so used to instant connection. We send messages across continents in a second. We hold the world's knowledge in our hands. To picture a reality without this technology is to picture a different kind of human existence. It forces us to look at what we have gained, but also at what we might have lost along the way. Without a screen to mediate our every interaction, life would be fundamentally different. The primary modes of communication would be slower, more deliberate. People would speak to each other face to face far more often. Conversations would happen in living rooms, in parks, and on public transport, not through text messages. For long distances, the landline telephone would be king. Families would gather around a single phone in the hallway, waiting for a call. And then there is the art of letter writing. People would put pen to paper, carefully choosing their words. A letter was a physical object. It traveled for days, even weeks, carrying a piece of the sender with it, a tangible connection across the miles. This different pace of communication would reshape our social fabric. Friendships would require more effort to maintain. You could not simply like a photo to show you care. You would have to arrange to meet, to physically be in the same space. Spontaneity would be a different concept. Plans would be made in advance and would be harder to change. If you were running late for a meeting, you could not send a quick text. Others would simply have to wait, trusting you would eventually arrive. This world would demand more patience, more trust, and a greater commitment to the plans we make with one another. Entertainment and learning would also follow a different path. Without endless scrolling and streaming services, people would turn to other sources of amusement. Families might listen to the radio together in the evenings. Children would play outside until the streetlights came on, inventing their own games. Reading books, magazines, and newspapers would be a primary way to gain knowledge and escape into stories. Libraries would be bustling community hubs, not just quiet places to study. People would learn new skills through apprenticeships, evening classes, or by simply trying and failing, rather than watching a 5-minute tutorial video. In the world of work, the office would be the undisputed center of professional life. The idea of working from home would be a distant, impractical dream for most. Without mobile phones and instant email, collaboration would happen in meeting rooms, around desks, and over the communal coffee pot. Important information would be shared through memos typed on paper and distributed by hand. The workday would have a clear beginning and a definite end. Once you left the office, your work could not easily follow you. The separation between professional life and personal time would be a solid, unbreachable wall for most people. At school, the learning environment would be entirely focused on the physical classroom. Students would learn from their teachers and from printed textbooks. Research for an essay meant a trip to the library, spending hours searching through encyclopedias and card catalogues. There would be no online learning platforms, no digital assignments. Children would have to develop strong memorization skills and the ability to focus for long periods without digital distractions. Playtime in the schoolyard would be a time for direct social interaction, for running, shouting, and navigating the complex social rules of childhood without the influence of social media. Family life would be more contained and perhaps more interconnected. Evenings would not be spent with each family member staring at their own personal screen. Instead, families might gather to watch the single television set in the living room, play a board game, or simply talk about their day. Communication with relatives who lived far away would be a special event. A long-distance phone call was expensive and planned in advance. A letter from a grandparent would be a treasured item, read and reread. The home would be a sanctuary from the outside world, a place of shared experiences rather than individual digital consumption. The structure of our days would be governed by this analog rhythm. Without a calendar app constantly reminding us of our obligations, people would rely on wall calendars, diaries, and memory. Keeping appointments required a different kind of mental discipline. The pace of life would be slower, less frantic. There would be fewer notifications demanding our immediate attention. This might lead to a deeper engagement with the task at hand, whether it was a work project, a school lesson, or a simple conversation. Life would be less about multitasking and more about focusing on one thing at a time. Travel without mobile phones would be a genuine adventure into the unknown. Before setting off on a journey, you would need to do careful planning. This meant consulting physical maps and guidebooks. You could not simply type a destination into a GPS and follow the robotic voice. Getting lost would be a real possibility, a common part of the travel experience. This would force travelers to be more aware of their surroundings, to read road signs, and to interact with local people to ask for directions. Every journey, whether to a new city or a remote corner of the countryside, would be a test of resourcefulness and human interaction. This reliance on planning would extend to all aspects of travel. Meeting up with someone in a different city would require a precise plan, a specific place at a specific time. There would be no "I'm here, where are you?" text messages. If your train was delayed, you had no way of informing the person waiting for you at the destination. This created a system built on trust and patience. People would wait for each other because that was the only option. It fostered a culture where being on time was a sign of respect and where unforeseen delays were accepted as a part of life's unpredictability. Personal safety would also be a very different concern. If your car broke down on a deserted road, you could not simply call for assistance. You would have to wait for another car to pass by and hope they would stop to help. This fostered a greater sense of community reliance, a shared understanding that sometimes we all need help from a stranger. Parents would give their children stricter boundaries and curfews. Be home before dark was not just a rule, it was a crucial safety instruction. Without a way to check in, a child's return was awaited with a mixture of trust and anxiety. In an emergency, finding help would depend on proximity to a landline telephone. People would know the location of public phone boxes, and businesses would be expected to allow people to use their phones in a crisis. The response to accidents or fires would rely on eyewitnesses reaching a phone to alert the authorities. There would be no viral videos capturing events as they happened. News would travel more slowly, passed by word of mouth or through official channels. This lack of instant information could be both a blessing and a curse, preventing panic but also delaying crucial warnings. Friendships and relationships would be forged in the crucible of shared time and space. Without the ability to maintain a constant, low-level connection through social media, friendships would depend on the effort of meeting in person. You would learn about your friend's life by sitting with them, listening to their stories, and observing their expressions. Boredom might even be a catalyst for socializing. With nothing to do at home, you would be more likely to go out, to knock on a friend's door, or to gather in public spaces like parks and cafes, hoping to run into people you know. Social life would be less about curating an online persona and more about actual presence. Popularity would not be measured in followers or likes, but in the number of friends who would show up for your birthday party. Social gatherings would be all-encompassing experiences. People would be fully present, their attention not divided between the person in front of them and a stream of notifications from the digital world. Conversations would be deeper, and silences would be a natural part of the interaction, not an awkward pause to be filled by checking a screen. The fear of missing out would be less pervasive, as you could only be in one place at a time. This world would foster different social skills. The ability to read body language, to make eye contact, and to engage in small talk would be essential for navigating social situations. People would be more practiced at initiating conversations with strangers, as it would be a common way to get information or simply pass the time. Relationships would likely develop more slowly, built on a foundation of shared experiences over time rather than rapid-fire messaging. The mystery and anticipation of getting to know someone would be a longer, more drawn-out process, a dance of letters and planned phone calls. Ultimately, a world without mobile phones would be harder in many practical ways. We would be less efficient and emergencies would be more dangerous. But some things might be better. Our connections with each other might be deeper, rooted in undivided attention. Our minds might be calmer, less cluttered with the constant noise of the digital world. we would have a stronger connection to our immediate physical environment and the people in it. We would have more practice in being patient, in being resourceful, and in simply being present. It is a trade-off, a different way of being human.